Hello again. It's me, Caner. I am with you with another video. Today, we are gonna have a pilot talk. What do I mean by saying pilot talk? It's gonna be a monthly video. Each month, I'll be covering previous month's flight. Then I will give detailed information about how long flight was, where did I stay, what did I do, and also I'm planning to give a little bit detailed information about flying because each destination comes with different rules and procedures. It's not the same when you fly Australia and when you fly to United States. So each region has their own different rules. I'll give also detailed information about these things. Alright, let's dive in for January 2022. My first flight in January 2022 was from Melbourne to Dubai on the 31st. Yeah, it was on New Year Eve and we departed at 11 p.m. and after 1 hour we celebrated 2022. Imagine you are departing from Australia to Dubai and you take off. By the way, Australia is, especially Melbourne, is UTC plus 10 and Dubai is UTC plus 4. It's 6 hours difference, but the flight itself is 14 hours 30 minutes. So while flying from Australia, Melbourne to Dubai, you will be crossing 6 different time zones. And meanwhile, whole Asia continent was celebrating 2022. While I was flying, literally, many countries in Asia entered 2022. And I was also celebrating with them. That was a unique experience for me. I never had something like this in my life. So that's why I started my first flight in January with a nice mood. As I told you, flight was 14 hours, 30 minutes. It's a long flight. Those flights are never ending. They are called ULRs, ultra long range flights. In general, ULR flights, we are 4 pilots because pilots need to take rest, right? It's too long for 2 pilots operation to finish a flight from Melbourne to Dubai. So that's why we are 4. So basically, 4 pilots are divided into 2 groups, operating, augmenting, or A, B. Depending on the companies, the group names can differ. So let me explain what is operating, what is augmenting. Operating crews are the crew who is taking off and landing, and also they fly half of the cruise time. The augmenting guys are there to support the operation itself. So while operating guys are in rest, augmenting crew take the lead and fly the airplane. Australian flights are really nice flights. I love them for a couple of reasons. First of all, they are easy. What I mean by saying easy, because most of the time we are flying over ocean. It's not crowded. So we are using CPDLC to communicate with the controller. What does CPDLC mean? Basically, apart from the theory, you just send a message via computer to the other guy and he replies back to you. So you don't need to talk. That's why you are having really nice cockpit environment while flying. And also, it's less chance for you to forget something or miss something because the message is shown on the screen. And also, while flying Australia, since it's a quiet airspace, relatively quiet airspace, you can ask for block altitudes. Block altitudes provides you to fly any flight level within blocked altitude. Let me give you an example. Imagine when you're flying from east to west or west to east, your flight levels should be either odd or even. In that case, from Dubai to Melbourne, you're flying easterly. It means that you need to have odd flight level, like 33, 35, 37. But while you're flying to Melbourne, Australia, you can ask for block altitude, that let's say from 33 to 350. In that case, if it is approved, you can fly any altitude between flight level 330 to 350. You can change your altitude basically without any permissions because your permissions includes this block altitude. It brings some advantages to the airplane and the company. First of all, you are saving fuel because you have a flexibility to fly optimum altitude all the time. you can have a look at your CDU and you can see from FMC that what is your optimum altitude. So you can climb and you can have a step climb, not like 1,200, but you can have a step climb of 100-foot increments. So that's a nice opportunity. And you cannot even practice this kind of things in European airspace because it's very congested. Australia is a huge country, but wait for it, Australian airspace even way bigger than this. Okay, let me give you an example. Hypothetically speaking, you have a flight from Tanzania to Perth and you are gonna fly most of the time over ocean, right? What do you think? How long after your departure from Tanzania you will enter in Australian airspace? Okay, I will give you a couple of seconds before you answer it. Most probably you said you need to fly for a long time before entering Australian airspace, right? But this is not true. Literally, after departure, I don't know exact timing, but when you pass through Mauritius airspace, I will say 2 hours, 2 hours 30 minutes, you will enter in Australian airspace. Yes, you are not even halfway through to Perth, but you're in Australian airspace. Whole entire Indian Ocean are controlled by Australia. I love Australia flights, but right now I cannot say the same for Australian layovers. Before, I loved them a lot, but especially during pandemic, it was really difficult for us. As you know, Australia is one of the most strict countries in the world when it comes to COVID. Literally, they closed their borders for more than 2 years to tourists or anyone else. That's why all the time when we flew there, we were locked down in the hotel room. You cannot even go out. You cannot order food from outside. That's why each day they were knocking your door, giving the food in front of your door. You are not even allowed to move one step ahead from your door. You need to wait a guy to come and escort you down to the reception of the hotel. After my Australian flight, I had 3 days off. Before each ULR flights, you have 2 days off. And after each ULR flights, you also have 2 days off. That's why I got first 2 days off, then I got another day off. So that's the reason why I got 3 days off. My next duty was to Maldives. I was so excited to go to Maldives because that was gonna be the first layover for me. But guess what? I got sick. I had to report sick. It was first sick call for me within 2.5 years. But I had to call sick because I got tonsillitis. I couldn't even swallow. Therefore, I had to go to hospital for 3 days for IV antibiotics treatment. After 3 days of sickness, I got another day off because it was on my roster. After day off, I got sim support. It's called simulator support. Sometimes we are flying our own simulators, but time to time we are also having supporting duties. It's not our sim, but at the same time, we are there to help other pilots. Like I'll do my first officer responsibilities. I also fly the sim as if it's my own simulator. It's a little bit tricky because you need to prepare for this kind of duties. Because if you lack of performance, you can fail, though it's not your sim. And no one wants to have these consequences. First of all, for yourself, for the guy that you are going to support, right? That's why I prepared a lot. And can you imagine, during that time, I was sick. It was a little bit difficult and challenging for me, but that was okay. There were no issues. I studied a lot. I went to simulator 2 days in a row. I passed everything, and the guy also passed. After sim support, originally, I was supposed to have a freighter flight. Freighter flights are a little bit tricky because freighter flights are changing a lot. That's exactly what happened to me. Instead of going this freighter flight, which I was supposed to go Copenhagen, Chicago, back to Copenhagen and Dubai. Flight is cancelled. Then I had 6 available days. An available day is assigned to you after your flight has been changed or you have been removed from the flight. So you don't know what's gonna happen for the next 6 days. So it means you are belong to company. They can assign you any duty that they want. So they can give you another flight, turnaround, layover, simulator support, home standby, or if you are lucky, you can get day off. That's exactly what happened to me. I got first 2 days off, and after that, I got a flight to the Rome. Quick statistics about this flight. So flight to Rome was 6 hours 15 minutes, and we had a 25 hours layover over there. I was a little bit unlucky. I was picked at the airport for a quick PCR test. But I was relaxed. Though I had sinus tonsillitis before, I had tested myself before starting my flights. It was negative. And that day I was tested at the airport again. It was also negative. I've been in Rome many times for layovers, for vacation. So to be honest, I know most of the things what I need to expect in Rome. So I didn't go out. I was lazy, so I wanted to have a rest before flight because I was recovering from sickness. Okay, I was okay, but still I felt like it's better to stay in the hotel room and get some rest. And also I don't need to mention what I have done in my layover, right? I love Italy and I have eaten lots of Italian food, such as flights from Dubai to southern part of Europe generally follow 2 different routes. First route, either you fly up north towards Iran or Iraq, then Turkey, followed by Balkans and rest of the Europe, or you can fly over Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Cyprus, and then following countries such as Spain, southern part of France, Italy. That's the route generally we fly. Speaking of European airspace or European destinations, I would like to give a couple of hints about them. Europe is one of the most congested airspace in the world. Literally, there are thousands of flights over each countries in each day. That's why you should follow some strict procedures while flying over Europe. The countries over Europe, they are relatively, geographically speaking, small. So it means that you are changing lots of frequencies. You should be really cautious and you should really pay attention to the frequencies and the communication. If you don't pay attention, if you miss a couple of calls, it means that you can fly over 3 countries without talking. You don't want to see F-16 or left or right side of yourself, right? You don't want to be intercepted. That's why you have to pay attention, especially communication, while flying over European airspace. The second thing I would like to mention, since it is very congested, you should limit your climb and descent rates, especially in European airspace, because it can generate TCAS warnings if you climb with a high rate of climb or similarly descend with a high rate of descent. That's really important thing. Winter in Europe is challenging and there are lots of low visibility approaches. You need to prepare for cold weather operation, and plus you have really busy airports in Europe like London, Amsterdam, Paris. These airports have complex structures. Combined with low visibility and cold weather operations, sometimes it's really challenging. And also I can easily say that the most difficult part of flying is on the ground. There are lots of stress going on around you guys. That's why it needs to be managed very well. And Europe is really challenging when it comes to this kind of airports. I talk a lot of things about negativity, right? Let me give you one good example. Europe is one of my favorite places to fly over because it serves you many nice views. When you fly over Alps, when you fly over forests, when you fly over rivers, seas, Mediterranean, you are amazed. There are lots of things to spot about aviation while flying over European airspace. My personal best is the windmills. When you are flying from Netherlands to UK, you see windmills floating over the water. And I was amazed for the first time when I saw them. For me, windmills are always on top of the mountains. I got so used to it. When I see the windmills are floating over the water, I got surprised. That's why it's my favorite scene in Europe. Now return back to Rome. My return flight from Rome to Dubai was almost 1 hour shorter than the previous flight. It's always like this, guys. When you fly from west to east, it's always shorter. The reason behind is to prevailing winds. The winds are most of the time are blowing from west to east. So if you are flying in the same direction, you are having tailwinds, which is pushing you away towards your destination. That means you are going faster. But on the other hand, while flying from east to west, you are having headwinds. It is slowing you down. That's why most of the time when you're flying from Europe to Dubai or US to Dubai is shorter. But if you fly from Dubai to US or Europe, they are longer. That's why you can observe huge differences between two flights. What I mean by two flights, Dubai-Rome, Rome-Dubai. This is two flights. You might think that both of sectors should be same amount or equal, but it's not. It's because of the wind, and wind blows a lot at 35,000 feet. Speaking of winds, let me give you an example. One day I was flying from US to Dubai and I got 1,200 kilometers per hour. That's because of our tailwind. We had extreme amount of tailwind which help us to come to Dubai faster. After Rome flight, I had home standby. I was 100% sure that I'm gonna get another flight in home standby duty. That's exactly what happened. And I got this flight to Seychelles. That was awesome. God literally smiled on my face because I couldn't fly to Maldives because I was sick. Instead, I was flying to Seychelles. It was a 40-hour layover. By the way, I've recorded my very first vlog for you guys in that layover. You can click here to watch my first vlog, and I would like to hear about it. I know I was a little bit amateur while recording this. The upcoming videos will be even better. Okay, stay tuned. From Dubai to Seychelles is 4 hours 25 minutes flight. Depending on the wind, it can be a little bit shorter or it can be a little bit longer. But flying to Seychelles brings some stuff to consider about it. First of all, you are flying southerly from Dubai to Seychelles. Almost literally 180 track all the way down to Seychelles. But on the route, you are flying over Muscat, which is great. But after Muscat, you are flying over Yemeni airspace. It is a little bit challenging due to civil war in Yemen. You are just only allowed to fly over water, ocean part. And the VHF coverage in that area sometimes a little bit tricky. And after Yemen, you are flying over Mogadishu, which is Somalia. In Somalian airspace, is called uncontrolled airspace, class Gulf airspace. So basically, there is no ATC service there, but you're still talking with a guy who can tell you about the traffic information. Yeah, you report them, but their instruction towards to you is not a real instruction because it's Gulf airspace and it's uncontrolled airport. And also, it's really difficult airspace. In that airspace, we are not changing our altitudes and we are making in-flight broadcasting procedure. This is a special procedure where everyone needs to follow while flying over Mogadishu airspace and some other African countries. In Mogadishu FIR, normally VHF coverage is zero, almost zero. Only when you are close by the airports, you have a coverage. That's why it's a little bit challenging to communicate via HF. You dial in the numbers, then you try to communicate with them. But depending on daylight, sunlight, the frequencies are changing. You need to know HF working principle behind it. It's very difficult than the VHF communication. Once you fly over Mogadishu airspace, then you enter Seychelles. There is a CPDLC coverage in Seychelles. Then later on, once you get closer to the airport, you will have a VHF frequency. That's the thing about the Seychelles. Seychelles is an extremely interesting place, let's put that way, because it's a very isolated place. What I mean by isolated, once you fly to Seychelles, it's 4-hour flights, right? But there's only one airport. There is not many airports around Seychelles. The closest one, either east coast of Africa, or if you continue 2 or 2.5 hours more, you can go to Madagascar or Mauritius. Literally, the closest airport to the Seychelles is 2 hours away. That's why you need to carry additional fuel with you all the time to think of the possibilities. Therefore, we always have extra fuel. Not we, all the airlines who fly to Seychelles have plenty of fuel to go back to closest airport, which is 2 hours away. That's exactly what we had that day. Seychelles is a captain-only airport for us. What does it mean? It means that landing and takeoff must be done by captain. There are some challenges in Seychelles. Mountainous area, RMPR approaches. That's why company decided to make approaches and landings must be done by the captain. That's why company wants captains to make landing and approaches, especially for this airport. I don't want to give details about the layover because whatever I have done in layover, you can find my Seychelles vlog. That's it. The return sector was uneventful. We flew back to Dubai 4 hours 15 minutes flight, and then I got a couple of days off. Then thereafter, I had a SIM support again. After SIM support, I got 2 days off. Then I had another flight to do London Gatwick Airport. Originally in my roster, I had Durban, South Africa flights, but because of the pandemic, South Africa is closed. That's why they've changed my flights a couple of days before the flight to the London Gatwick. London is one of the longest European flights for us. The first sector took 7 hours 40 minutes. Gatwick is normally #1 airport in the world when it comes to traffic numbers for a single runway operations. There's only one runway at the Gatwick airport, and it's the busiest single runway airport in the world. Of course, during COVID time it has changed. Now, #1 airport in the Europe is Istanbul Sabiha Gökçen Airport. I've been flying to Gatwick for a long time. When I was in Turkish Airlines, I was flying there quite often. But we were parking at the another side of the airport. So, or I didn't pay attention, I don't know. I saw a huge bridge connecting to terminals, and airplanes can pass through this bridge. Normally, it's other way around, right? We are taxiing over bridge, the cars can go underneath of us. But that was other way around. There's a bridge connecting two terminals, and the airplanes were going behind. I've never seen something like this before. I'm flying to Gatwick for a long time. How come I didn't realize it? It was really interesting story. London, Gatwick, very far to city center. You can go to city center by train, but I was lazy. I didn't want to go out. It was cold. Typical London weather. It's raining all the time, and I wanted to sleep, so I didn't go out. That was it. It was like 25 hours layover. Next day, we flew back to Dubai. It was 7-hour flight. That's it. That concludes my flight for January 2022. Okay, let me recap of January 2022. In this month, I flew to Melbourne, Rome, Seychelles, and Gatwick. 4 different flights covering the continent of Australia, Europe, and Indian Ocean. And also, I got 13 days off and also additional 3 sick leave. Unfortunately, I had to take it, and I got 3 SIM supports as well. Total flying time in January 2022 is 49 hours, 16 minutes. Of course, it looks like I don't fly a lot, but I also had 3 simulator supports. Including that, it's getting high. That's it, guys. That concludes our video for today. I hope you enjoy my video, and I want to hear from you, because it's really important for me. We just started this video series. Your comments are extremely important. Based on your comments, we can change the structure. Was it too much information for you? Would you like to hear more about layover? What would you like to hear? Your thoughts are really important. That's why, please drop a comment below, and or you can reach me via my social media accounts. I want to hear from you. And last thing, as usual, please like my videos, subscribe my channel, and hit the bell button so you can get the notifications once I upload the new video. Thank you very much for watching me today. See you in the next videos. Bye bye.